Yeah.
So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar where we're going to take a look at SolidWorks Workgroup Manager for Windchill. My name is Rob Romanowski. I'm the Director of Sales Operations with 3HCI, and leading the overview and the demo on this is Zach Carson, who is a solutions consultant and applications engineer at PTC's Virtual Center of Excellence. So without further ado, Zach, I know you just gave a demo on this and everything's fresh and sharp. I'm very excited about that. On the same topic, actually. So take it away, my friend.
Yep. Thank you, Rob. Well, as Rob said, today we're going to be talking about the SolidWorks Workgroup Manager for Windchill. So basically, to put this in layman's terms, this is an application that integrates with Windchill, or that integrates Windchill into SolidWorks and other CAD tools as well. NX, CATIA, SolidWorks, AutoCAD, the list goes on. Okay, it's all going to work the same way as what you're going to see today. But it gives you a way to actually communicate back and forth with CAD systems that are ideally going to have their data managed in Windchill. So that's the whole idea with this. So whenever we talk about companies and the challenges they face that directly pertain to using the Workgroup Manager, a lot of the people we talk to really deal with the same stuff. Number one, you have multiple CAD applications that you use and you need to manage. So the trouble here is actually getting a system that can manage everything. Very few systems out there that can do it, and then consolidate that into one central source of truth, which is what you'll see today that Windchill is going to do. Oftentimes, companies that don't have a system in place at all are just using file drives. Maybe it's connected to, like, you have your file explorer connected to a server or something, or you're using like a Dropbox or a Google Drive or one of those methods. The problem is when you're doing that, it gets really tough for designers and engineers to make sure that everybody's working with the latest versions and not overwriting each other's work in the process, which obviously when that happens, you're wasting a ton of time and a ton of money. And then of course it results in a lot of rework as well. You also have limited version control. So not only are people overwriting each other's work and essentially causing wasted time, you also have problems with people across your organization actually getting the most up-to-date materials to work from. I come from manufacturing. I saw this firsthand all the time. I would say almost daily. There wasn't a system like this in place for us, and people in manufacturing had no idea what the latest version was. They had no idea if they were ever working from it. They had no idea when changes happened to anything. So this is a good way to get all of your departments and all of the eyes looking at the same things. And the last part of it is, even if you have a basic PDM system, like SolidWorks has SolidWorks PDM, a lot of them can't connect and integrate with different tools. So the CAD tool itself can't integrate with tools outside of its own company. You have PDM systems that can't integrate with other enterprise systems that you have, such as an ERP system or an MES system. These are all challenges that companies across the board are facing and really, really struggling with. So the solution that PTC came up with to manage these challenges is the Windchill Workgroup Manager. It runs alongside your CAD tool, which in this case, we're going to be using SolidWorks. And it does it by connecting to the Windchill server. So you can manage all of your data in Windchill, where everybody with access in your enterprise can go in and just grab the most up-to-date data as they need it. Looking at what you're actually going to get with this tool, so first is the embedded data management tools. So if you look at this picture, Windchill has a tab once you're set up within SolidWorks that gives designers the ability to use all of Windchill's key data management tools in the context of SolidWorks. That's the tool that they work in the most. That's the tool that they want to work in and continue to work in the most. I can't tell you how many times I've talked with designers working in whatever the CAD tool is, and they want to be in there as much as possible and avoid going into other systems as much as possible. So the Workgroup Manager or the integration between the two, you get the Windchill tab inside of SolidWorks. It allows them to do exactly that, spend as much of their time in SolidWorks as possible, right? The next level of this is you get enterprise level visualization. So once you upload a model or check a model into Windchill, you're getting automated version and iteration control. You're getting automated formation of a lightweight CAD representation within Windchill that can be viewed by any user in Windchill. They don't have to have SolidWorks. They don't have to have whatever the CAD authoring tool is to see the model. They just need to have Windchill, and you can see it on the right. That's a model that they would be able to see. They could even open it up in Creo View, which you'll see today, and interrogate it and take measurements and add markups and comments to it, maybe for change purposes. And that's a tool that comes free with Windchill as well. So it's a universal viewer that eliminates the need to have, let's say, a SolidWorks license just to go in and measure the diameter of a hole, let's say, or add a comment. You could just do it all from Creo View, and it comes free with Windchill. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into Windchill, and you can see how this thing's going to work for you. So right now we're starting off within the Windchill home screen. I'm signed in as James, a design engineer. Right now we're running Windchill in the Workgroup Manager, but you don't have to. You could just use Windchill in your web browser if it's, pick your favorite one. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't make a difference how you're running it as long as the Workgroup Manager is running in the background. So we also, through the Workgroup Manager, have an embedded browser in there. That's what I'm going to use for today. All right, so I opened it up in here, and the first thing that I want to do is open up the folder that I have that contains all of our SolidWorks data. And you'll see I have a bunch of different assemblies, sub-assemblies, different models in there. All right, here's the one for SolidWorks. And there's a specific assembly and sub-assembly that I have in mind today that I want to work with. And we'll go through making some changes, creating a new part, and you'll be able to see how this relationship between SolidWorks and Windchill works. Okay, so it's going to be the steering column foot that I want to play with today. And right from here, when I open this up, you'll see this is basically, think of this screen as like your part homepage or assembly homepage, right? So you have all the different objects in Windchill that we can manage. If it's an assembly, if it's just an individual model, if it's a document, whatever, the details page for any one of them is basically the home screen for that. Now from here, what I want to do is I'll go to the structure tab, and you'll be able to see this whole part structure. In this case, it's pretty small, but I can expand it, and you'll be able to see all of the different parts that make up this assembly, right? Here it is. I have my part structure on the left, which I'll expand in a second. Visualization on the right here, which I can interrogate, move, and whenever you're managing anything, any SolidWorks model in Windchill, Windchill's going to create this representation automatically. Anyone then that's working in Windchill can see it. They don't have to have a SolidWorks license to see it. They just have to have a Windchill license to see it. And they could even open this up like we'll do in a minute, add comments to it in Creo View, mark it up, take measurements, and everything geometrically is accurate because these are BREP models. So you can't edit the geometry like you would do in SolidWorks. We leave that to SolidWorks, but this is a universal viewer that people can use to collaborate and get an understanding of the objects from the Windchill side of things. So what I'm going to do here is within this steering column foot, I have a foot plate, which is the first part that I want to make a change to. So I'll show you what this looks like, and then we'll jump into Creo View and SolidWorks, right? So pretty basic part. It's just a foot plate. There's no sub-assemblies. It's just a single level bill of materials, if you will, for this. So I'm going to go ahead and double click here on the visualization, and that'll launch Creo View for me. And what we could use this tool for is interrogating it, maybe looking at different views. Maybe I want to do a different render, or maybe do a cross-section view, or come in here and add a comment. The one way that we see it used a lot is in changes. So if I'm someone, maybe I'm a manager or something, and I want this part changed, I'm not the one making the change, but I'm the one, I'll say, delegating that change. So what I'll do is I'll just come into Creo View, put a box around this part here, and add a comment that says, change the size of this thing. Okay. What we can do from here is then save this to Windchill. And I could attach it to a change request, let's say, so that anyone who goes into Windchill who's going to be involved with this change, that's maybe other managers need to know about it. The designers definitely need to know about it. Maybe a machinist or someone needs to know about it. They'll all be able to see this marked up Creo View representation, and everybody understands what needs changed, who's going to be making the change. It's in the context of the model. It's very, very clear to see, which compared to communicating this stuff via email or maybe Microsoft Teams or something along those lines, this is far superior to that. It gets everyone's eyes looking at the same thing, and there's definitely less room for misinterpretation. Okay. Since that I'll say the problem is now documented, or the change is now documented, and we're ready to actually go and make that change, well, then the designer could look at that Creo View representation. They could say, all right, I'm going to jump into SolidWorks, and I'm going to go ahead and change the size of this pad, right? So I can, from SolidWorks, if I'm a designer, I can open up that part, and I never actually have to open up Windchill, because all the stuff's already managed in there. And the integration provides you the ability to just open it from the SolidWorks file explorer. Okay, so I'll just open up this part. There we go. And I know the change that needs to be made, right? So I have my PTC Windchill tab. I'm going to make a change. So I'll go ahead and check this out. While it's checked out, nobody else can make a change to it. Everyone in Windchill, though, can see that I have it checked out, or whoever has it checked out. And I'm going to grab that extruded piece, and we're just going to edit the sketch. Okay, I'm going to quickly here change the dimensions of this thing to 0.75, and then this radius, instead of 0.25, I'll go 0.13. All right, something simple. The other change that I want to make, and this is purely so that you can see the change or the updated version in Windchill, is I'm going to also change the appearance of this. I'll make it blue instead of green. And that way, when we get into Windchill, you'll be able to easily see the updated version in the visualization. Okay. That's a geometric change. So that's the easy stuff. We also, as I've said, this is a bi-directional relationship here. Windchill also understands SolidWorks metadata. If I'm in SolidWorks, I'm not just doing editing the geometry. I'm saying what material we're using. Am I using steel, alloy? Am I using aluminum? What am I using? I can put that information in here. So that way I can run maybe a simulation or something on it. I can say, put descriptions on here, put in all kinds of different metadata. Windchill understands that metadata. So I added a comment here, footplate for the steering column assembly. So if a designer goes in and they add a comment or assign a material, then from the Windchill side, I can not only see that metadata, but I can even search on it. So I could come in here and I could say, you know what, I want to, in Windchill, see everything that is, I don't know, all my SolidWorks parts that are made out of aluminum, right? I could search aluminum and I could actually get all of those results. And I could, you know, it's searchable criteria, searchable metadata assigned in SolidWorks that Windchill interprets and allows you to work with. Okay. Once you're done, then all I'm going to do is check this part back in. And whenever I check it in, there's a few things that are going to happen. Number one, it's going to uprev it. Okay, so instead of working with version 1.3, I check it in, it now becomes 1.4, and Windchill keeps a full history of it. So I could go back tomorrow or next week or whenever and look at 1.3. What it also is going to do, and you'll see this here, is it updates the visualization automatically. Okay, so instead of the green foot plate, it's the blue foot plate. And in this case, I even have some attachments. I quickly there did a save as and saved it as an IGES file as well, just to include with this WT part. And that way, if I have to send this to a supplier, maybe they want to use an IGES file, or if I want to send it to, I don't know, 3D print shop and they want to open it up in their print software, and IGES works well for that. So I just like to keep it here as an attachment. What you'll also see is if you look at the bottom, there's my metadata that I laid out in SolidWorks. So if you look at the description, footplate for steering column assembly, you saw me type that in. That's stuff that we can manage here in Windchill. Okay. For the next part of this, what I want to do is actually open up the 2D drawing. There's a 2D drawing created in SolidWorks for that part that we were just looking at. And I just showed you how Windchill can manage SolidWorks metadata. But now what I want to show you is how the relationship works the other way. How does SolidWorks, or how can we bring in Windchill metadata into SolidWorks, right? So 2D drawing, it's a perfect spot to try it. I want to put a new column in here. And I want everyone who opens this drawing in SolidWorks to see the lifecycle state or to see the Windchill version. I can put it in this little table here, right on the drawing. And now that's Windchill metadata that SolidWorks is bringing in and also now displaying. So even less time that a designer would have to spend going into another enterprise PLM system. Just they love their CAD systems. Let them continue to work in it. Okay. For the next part of this, what I want to show you is not just editing a part. That's the easy stuff. We already went through that. That object already existed in Windchill. What happens if I'm a designer and I come into an assembly and I want to create a new part that doesn't exist on my SolidWorks model and it doesn't exist in Windchill? All right. What we're going to do here is exactly that. So I'm going to put a connecting rod across the front of this. It's going to go from that hole in the front left that you can see there, just straight to the other side. It really doesn't even have to be exact, but let's do that. And let me just extrude that to the opposite side here. Go up to this surface, looks pretty good. And there's somewhat our connecting rod. Let me go ahead and regenerate this thing. Okay, that looks better. So now that's a new part that was created. So how does Windchill deal with that? Right, this is a part that didn't exist. There was no version. There was no WT part in Windchill or anything. Okay, and I'll even show you this part individually here. Well, whenever I'm ready, all I have to do, and I'll even take it up a level and put a metadata in here. We'll say a material, and just to be determined. It really doesn't matter. Now at this point, this part's ready. Let's go ahead and push it into Windchill. Now, what happens is because this is a new part, I didn't check it out. Okay, that part wasn't checked out before, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to check it back in. So you can see at the bottom, check-in has succeeded. And whenever we go to Windchill, what you'll see now is, let me go ahead and check this in too, but the connecting rod will already be added to Windchill. It'll already have a version assigned to it. It'll have a visualization assigned to it. And it's not only going to be that part, but it's also now automatically pushing to the assembly in Windchill and to the drawing. Okay, so I'm just going through some basic criteria here for checking this in. I mean, a lot of this is just these are just preferences, really. You can also configure this to require different criteria or something. So regardless of which designer's checking it in, they all have to enter a description, and they all have to, do X, Y, and Z. But here, I'm going to go ahead and search up the part that we looked at in the beginning, the steering column foot. That's the overall assembly that has the foot plate we worked on. It has the connecting rod, it has everything. And that should have updated, which it looks like here. You can see that it did. So my blue foot plate, okay, that's great. That got pushed there. And if I spin it around, there's my connecting rod. So all of those parts, the one that I changed and the one that I just created, have already been pushed to Windchill and added to the assembly. They've been given a version, lifecycle state, everything. So if I go to that connecting rod, then in the bottom of the model tree, you'll see, okay, there it is. You can put your own auto naming rules in here. The one that I have is not the best. You're going to have probably a better name than part 1 hat ST column foot, but you get the idea. And what you also see is when I open this up, okay, it's going to be A.1. So if you have a specific naming convention or numbering scheme you have, it would be applied automatically. Out of the box, this is what it's going to be. So A.1, I check it out, I check it in, A.2, 3, so forth. And then if you want to have like a full-on change request and change notice and everything, maybe then big change happens and it goes to B.1 or something like that. You can also see here now, right by my mouse, okay, there's my metadata. Material is to be determined. Perfect. And in related objects, okay, that's perfect. Windchill tells me the related objects. It tells me the assembly it's used on. So that's good. And if I open that up, then you'll even be able to see the other parts that this is used on. So what I want to do from here is, now that we have made that change to the CAD side, is it just released? Maybe. You could set it up so that there's not as much control like that. But in reality, this is either going to be part of a specific workflow that you have set up, and you would go through maybe a change request or a change notice, or what you can also do is just create a promotion request. So this is something simple. I'm basically saying, I feel like I've made all of the changes that I need. They're all completed. I've updated the model. I've updated the drawing. We looked over the related information. And now we're ready to just go ahead and push this into the released phase so that everybody's going to be viewing this. So all that I'm doing here is I'm saying, yeah, let's promote this. And then I'll use my collection tool. And the really nice part about this is Windchill looks at the model, or at the part, the WT part that I am promoting, and it will actually gather all of the associated objects to that. This is a huge time saver because I'm promoting the steering column assembly. Well, there's tons of sub-assemblies and parts that make that up. Rather than me having to go in, manually grab each one of them, and maybe missing some even, this just grabs it all for us. I can select them all. I'm going to say, yeah, they're all getting promoted. I want to take them all from in work to released. So let me just give this a promotion state. And then the last part of this is just saying, okay, who do I want to review it? Who do I want to approve it? Maybe there's multiple people I want to do each one. Maybe this is already pre-configured in your workflow, so you wouldn't even have to do it. But for the sake of demonstration, it's a good thing to show. All right, and then the last part of this is, since that's been created, well then, if there's someone else reviewing this or approving it, they're going to automatically now be assigned a task. And in this case, I just assigned it to myself. I'll come into my tasks. You can see there's my approved promotion request. I'm going to go ahead, accept this, sign it off, and then even take a look at all of the objects included so I can understand the whole scope of the change. Once I approve it, this thing is released to the masses and everyone can see the latest and greatest design that we have modified and put into production. And there you go. You can see it's now no longer my task. That's something that's been completed. We've released the updated version, the updated visualization model is the latest and greatest stuff. So anybody using Windchill can now jump in to that model, see the newest stuff, and you can ensure that way that everybody's going to be working from the most up-to-date information across the board. So with that being said, just want to summarize this, finish up this call by summarizing the benefit that you're going to get from this. So number one, you're standardizing all of your data, even if you're using multiple different systems, on one platform. So obviously in this case, it involves SolidWorks, but also if you use tons of other CAD tools as well, bringing it all into one place, all that data is still going to roll up to one bill of materials inside of Windchill. What you're going to do with that is with the full traceability that it provides, you're going to reduce scrap and rework, because you're dramatically, and I mean that, dramatically cutting down on overwriting of CAD models between designers and engineers, because we're using the check-in and check-out system, and because there's visibility into all of these changes and all of these versions and everything that goes into that. Ultimately, this accelerates your time to market. Windchill makes it very easy for designers to reuse pre-existing CAD models that you have on your future designs, and again, reducing the scrap and rework and making sure that you're getting your product to the finish line faster and spending less money in the process. So that's what I had planned to go through for this demonstration of the SolidWorks Workgroup Manager.
Excellent. Great job as always, Zach. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So if you got, I will send out a replay. Sorry to be tongue-tied there for a second. We will send out the replay either later today or tomorrow, so everybody has access to the recording of this webinar. If you want to see a more detailed or more of a personal custom demo for anything Windchill or even anything Creo, you can contact us by just responding to the email invitations that you receive for these webinars, or you can email us at info@3hti.com. So I want to thank everybody for being on today, and we appreciate it. And there is no webinar next week, so we will see you back here for another Windchill webinar in 2 weeks. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Take care.